Hey everybody, welcome to Madoka Theory Friday. This is the Madoka Magica channel where we basically just talk about theories. If you have a theory that you would like me to do, leave it in the comment below and I'll look into seeing about doing it. So I once heard a very interesting idea of the fact of Madoka's mother, Junko Kaname, understanding everything that Madoka's going through, understanding the magical girl system, and even potentially being a magical girl herself at a various point. Now, this is a theory that I've seen within the Madoka community for years and years. However, I've never actually seen somebody analyze closely the series itself to see if it was really likely that Madoka's mother was aware of the events of what was taking place in this series of Madoka being a magical girl. I will say this though, there are some very interesting moments where you have Junko Kaname giving a certain look which almost implies that perhaps she knows more than she sort of lets on. You also have to realize that women have this powerful force known as intuition, where they have the ability to sense various things, even if it's not completely understood or even explained. So we're going to basically be going through Junko Kaname a bit, and we're going to analyze whether or not there's a possibility that she knew about the whole idea of a magical girl. Now, I mentioned before that this has always been a very interesting discussion based on what the original Madoka Magica anime shows us. I'm going to be honest with you. Personally, while I do love the theory, and I probably will make some about Madoka's mother being a magical girl, I think that realistically, the likelihood of Junko Kaname knowing, fully knowing about magical girls and everything Madoka was going through is pretty low. The show never implies that she has direct knowledge of the magical girl system, not to mention no knowledge of Kyubey. She's not even able to see Kyubey. One thing about the Madoka Magica series shows us is that when a girl has potential, or if she had potential, she would be able to see Kyubey. This is something that Madoka and Sayaka are able to see even before they become magical girls, even Mommy right before she makes her wish, which implies that one way to know if a girl has potential, whether it being an adult girl or whatever it happens to be, they have to at least be able to see Kyubey even before making a wish. I will say this though, even if Madoka's mother didn't fully understand anything about what Madoka was going through or the magical girl system, that doesn't mean that she was completely oblivious to everything. Let me explain what I mean by that. Junko Kaname knows that Madoka is struggling. So Junko, we have seen, is a very sharp and emotionally intelligent woman. She can tell that Madoka is going through something really heavy. Even if she doesn't know the details, there's several moments in the series where she gives Madoka a look, which implies that she definitely knows that something is going on. There are several moments in the series where she gives Madoka advice about making tough decisions and trusting herself, and not being swayed too easily by others. It feels like she senses Madoka's dealing with something life-changing, even if she assumes it's just regular teenage struggles. I mean, she even gives Madoka boy advice at the beginning of the series. It's pretty clear that at the earlier stage of the series, Madoka's mother just assumes that Madoka must be going through teenage drama, boy troubles, wanting to be pretty, conflict with friends, all the typical teenage jargon that we all tend to go through. Can anybody relate to having a mother like Madoka? Is there a friend you have that would remind you of Madoka's mother? I'm just curious to know if anybody can relate to this sort of situation that Madoka's in with her mother. Can you yourself relate to it? Let me know in the comments if you can. That'd be interesting. I know I certainly can. My mother was the kind of person who was very wise, very insightful, gave a lot of advice, and definitely went out of her way to try to understand me on a personal level, even if she didn't always hit the mark. In fact, I made a video once where I talked about how I was even able to share Madoka Magica with my mother. If you want to check that video out, I'll have it at the end of this one. And I was glad I could share this with her. My mother really, really liked Madoka's mother. There's one thing that Madoka's mother said that my mother really resonated with. Madoka's mom, well, it was more so Madoka's dad. Madoka's dad was like, the reason why your mother likes where she works and why it's her dream job, it's not the job itself, it's the fact that it gives her the feeling of living out her dream because she strives to be her best at this job every day. So it's in going through the motions of showing up as her best which ultimately makes the job her dream job. My mother resonated with that so much because when I was watching this series with her, she would ferociously shake her head when Madoka's dad says this, which told me that she really resonated with Madoka's mother in this way based on what Madoka's dad had said. This is just a random thing I'm just throwing in here. One thing about these videos is I'm recording my thoughts as I go. A lot of this is unscripted. Most of it is very unscripted. I'm just giving you my thoughts as I go. This is a format that I'm testing out. Hopefully you guys like it. There's a lot of other videos where I'm doing this too, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Her conversation with Madoka in episode 11 is a very interesting one because this moment tells us a lot. This is the most telling moment. Right before Madoka leaves for the final time to make her wish and rewrite reality, Junko stops her and asks if she can explain what's going on. Madoka responds in a way that implies she knows her mom won't fully understand her, but reassures her that she's making the right choice. Junko Kaname, despite feeling uneasy, ultimately trusts Madoka and lets her go, not before slapping her, which is an interesting thing. But yeah, she does eventually trust her and trust him, the daughter that she had raised up to this point, which is a really beautiful moment when you think about it. And that moment alone suggests she has some intuition that Madoka is facing something bigger than just normal teenage girl problems. And it really shows how much trust there is between the two of them, that Junko would trust Madoka to be able to handle the issue despite her being 12 years old, I believe, at this point, which is pretty amazing. It's actually a really beautiful, underrated mother-daughter moment. There's even a possibility that Junko might have heard interesting stories. This is more like a speculative thing I want to add here, but it's possible that magical girls are something that adults might have heard rumors about, even if they don't take them seriously. Perhaps there have been strange disappearances, which we do know has happened throughout the series, so you gotta figure if people are disappearing and wandering into witch labyrinths, it's hard to imagine that people wouldn't have some rumor mill being started about this. So most likely they're and not only that, we know in the Madoka series, whenever an unexplained disaster happens, it's always the result of a witch. There's even a chance that there could have even been whispers about young girls fighting supernatural creatures that Madoka's mom could have been aware of. But since witches manipulate perception and magical girls often die or disappear, it's unlikely Madoka's mother would have any solid facts. Now, is there a possibility that Madoka's mom could have subconsciously known about the magical girl system? If we go full meta, like full speculation here, there is a possibility that Junko subconsciously understood more than she lets on. Maybe a part of her felt that her daughter was caught up in something beyond her control, even if she couldn't rationally explain it. There are some fans who've even theorized that Junko's constant drinking is her way of coping with a vague sense of unease. It's funny because her being drunk all the time is played as a laugh, but you gotta figure oftentimes when people drink, it's usually to overcome stress and problems and issues. In fact, I believe that when Junko Kaname notices that Madoka's depressed, she's seen drinking with her teacher. Now, I personally think that her drinking could be a sign that she knows maybe more about what's going on than meets the eye, which is kind of ironic since there's a close-up of her eye in this shot here, which emphasizes the idea of more than meets the eye. Get it? A lot of times people drink to overcome their stresses and worries. Like she knows something is off in the world, but can't quite grasp it. That could be one of the reasons why she's such a career, business-oriented woman, because being a big time CEO or wanting to be like a boss of a company is, in a way, it's kind of like taking control of your own life when you feel like you don't have any control. It's interesting because I made a theory about the idea of Madoka taking a similar approach to the magical girl fandom. It was basically a theory about Madoka becoming evil and taking her mother's business minded persona and utilizing it to rule the magical girl system. I gave like a lot of detailed reasons. I'll leave a link below if you want to check that video out. So in conclusion, Junko Kaname didn't know exactly what was happening, but she definitely felt that something was going on with Madoka. She might not have known about the magical girls and witches, but she sensed her daughter was facing a major crossroad in her life, and she did everything she could to be there for her. That's why her last scene with Madoka is so bittersweet. She trusts her daughter's decision even if she doesn't fully understand it. But what do you think? Do you think she could have figured it out at some point about magical girls, Cube, and everything? Is there a detail that I could have missed that I didn't cover in this video? Or do you think the way magical girls and witches work makes it impossible for normal adults to ever realize the truth? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you for more Madoka theories.